Hey, good evening, friends. Dennis LaRue here, your executive life coach. It's Sunday evening, and this is the hashtag steeltoesrequired quote of the week. And this is episode 98. Diane, how are you, my friend? Episode 98 of the hashtag steeltoesrequired quote of the week. KL, good to see you. And so what is steel toes? For those of you that haven't been on here before, steel toes, what is hashtag steel toes required? Well, I'm retired Air Force. I had to wear steel toes for much of my Air Force career. Hey, Mom. And, steel toes protect your toes, right? But also as a speaker, a coach, and trainer, I've always been told that speakers, when they say something that's about to, that's about to upset you a little bit, is about to, poke and prod you, make you uncomfortable and put you in a position of growth. They say, I'm about to step on your toes. Thus, steel toes. I love quotes. Quotes inspire me. I've got many of them. Books behind me. And quotes really impact me from movies and sports and all that. So I like to take my favorite quotes as they come up, share lessons I've learned from them. Paul, how are you, buddy? And share what lessons I've learned from them. They have poked and prodded me and stepped on my toes and helped me to grow. And by proxy, I share them with you to step on your toes, to help you to grow, but also to inspire and motivate you to kick down with your steel toes the obstacles and doors in your path each week so that you can reach the next level in your life, business, whatever that is. Whatever the next level in whatever area you are going to, that this quote would be something that would get you through that door, kicking down that rock or whatever that obstacle is in your way. And so that birthed hashtag steel toes required quote of the week. Now, I haven't done it every week. Nathan, my brother, and we was so, man, it's good to see you. And so while I haven't done it every week, but here it is, this is episode 98. So for 98 weeks, we've been bringing quotes. And this week's quote comes from, you can see the name behind me, those books behind me. Who? Can you see who that is there? That's John Maxwell. He's a frequent guest on the hashtag Steel Toes Required quote of the week because he's my mentor. I just spent a week with him with many. Those of you on here now that were at IMC, the International Maxwell Certification event, hit some hearts because we saw each other. And if I didn't see you, still hit some hearts because you were there. Because we were there in the room with John throughout the week, listening to him, growing, certifying new coaches, and just pouring into each other. Yeah, there they come. Nathan, I see him. Thank you, brother. And so this week's quote comes from him. And for many of you, you've heard him say this. He's said it before. He's written it in his books. And I think it's just appropriate for this week. And here it is. Here it comes. Are you ready? Are you ready for some John Maxwell? You never get, I don't think I can ever get enough of John Maxwell. But here he is. Here's his quote. He said, people will not always remember what you said. Some of you are already quoting it right now. But they will remember what you did and how you made them feel. Think about that again. Nathan, that's right, you did. You were out later than I was, that's for sure. People, here's what John said again. People will not always remember what you said, but they will remember what you did and how you made them feel. Now, as speakers, we've heard this before. We've heard this. If you've read John's book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect, he talks about this. As speakers, we want to connect with people. And guess what? Most people are only going to remember about 7% of the words that you say. Whew. We've got some long-winded speakers out there for hours upon hours. If you're not taking notes or using PowerPoint slides or things like that to hit other people, you're only going to remember, people are either only going to remember 7% of what you said, or you're only going to remember 7% of what they say. Now, what I want to share with you is the first time I met John. That's the story I want to share with you because it goes right to this quote. The first time I met John was back in 2006. Out in Odessa, Texas. And let me just pause here real quick. Odessa, I've got family out there and friends. I go out there annually. We're praying for you and praying for all those out there. We care about you. We love you. and it's horrible what happened out there. So, Odessa is in West Texas. I'm in San Antonio, further central South Texas. It's about a 5 or 6 hour drive to get out there. I've even heard John say this out there in Odessa. People come out to Odessa on purpose. You just don't go to West Texas, okay? So I was out there on purpose to go see him. And at this conference, there was only, there were 3,100 people in the room in Orlando. At this conference I went to, there wasn't even 200 in the room. I can't even imagine that. Being in a room where John is speaking and only 200 people are in the room. Whew. It was an amazing moment. And the person that was hosting John that week and set up the conference, he just treated me like a king. I mean, I was probably the only person outside of Odessa at this conference. And so I've got this goodie bag as I check in, and in that goodie bag is a book signed by John. It's right behind me. 25 Ways to Win with People was in my bag. And so, you know what? Nothing could be better at this moment. I've got an autographed book by John. It's the very first one I ever had. And I'm shocked. And so as I'm sitting there near the front row, ready to hear John, the host of the event comes up to me, the organizer, and he says, he shakes my hand. I introduce myself, and I share with him how I'm active duty Air Force at the time, and they had a professional development program for us, and in that program were 2 books that we had to read from John. Guess which ones they are? They're right behind me. Hint, hint. 21 Laws of Leadership, Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and the 21 Qualities of a Leader. We had to read those 2 books as part of our professional development program in the Air Force. And when I shared that with the organizer, he stopped and he said, "Man, that's amazing. John's got to hear this." And then this magical phrase I'll never forget as long as I live. He said, "Do you want to meet him? Do you want to meet him?" Now, everything within me is I'm like a cheerleader with pom-poms screaming at the top of my lungs like the Beatles were, like fans did with the Beatles or Elvis, or I just wanted to scream. But I calmly said, "Yes, I would love to meet John." And so I get up and I walk with the organizer and we go back behind the scenes. There's about 15 minutes before John's going to speak, and now I'm back behind the scenes, and there I am in John's private room there back in this building as he's getting ready, share notes with a book that was being written, and it was being recorded live for the very first time. And that one's behind me too. Talent alone is never enough. It's the first time he ever spoke on that in person. He recorded it for his tape and CD series back then. I think it was Enjoy or maybe Maximum Impact back then. And I get 10 minutes with him, and he shakes my hand, and I introduce myself. He says, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Dennis." And then we talked for the next 10 minutes. 10 minutes with John. Diane, I'll answer that question in a minute. 10 minutes with John. And here's what I can tell you. I don't remember a word he said. I was so starstruck. I was so mesmerized being back there. The very first time I see him in person, I'm meeting him in person, and I don't remember a thing he said other than, "Hi, Dennis. It's a pleasure to meet you." And I sat down the rest of that day and just, I don't remember what he said. And Diane, I'll share that at the end. Remind me. I'll share with you that at the end. So now let's fast forward. Moving along after that. That event happens every year, and I go out every year. So here we are. We're back in Florida now, last week in Orlando, and there's John. And had the opportunity to see him a couple of times, but the last time that I saw him, as he was getting ready to speak, all of these people are now you've got 3,100 people wanting to see John. And John is so amazing and gracious. He stops and he talks to people wanting to share how they met him or what his books have done for him, or to get a picture with him, shake his hand, get a hug, all of those things. What's going on, Chuck? And, he's so gracious about that and helping people get pictures on it. But then at the end, John looked at me and he said my name. And he said something to me. he shared something very special to me. And I won't forget what he said. I still remember every word he said to me in that moment. And to prove it, I wrote it down in here. As soon as after he said it and I got back to my table for the session, I wrote it in here to keep it forever, to remember it, because it was that precious. Now, I'm not going to share what it was. I'm not going to share what he said to me. But I'll tell you this, not only do I remember what he said, it touched my soul. What he said was an encouragement to my soul, and I'll never forget how I felt in that moment, what he said. John lives that out all the time, and I watched him all week long, creating memories and moments, making people feel so absolutely amazing. And so with you, why do I share that story? Because there are people in your life that have done the exact same thing. You don't remember what they said, but you remember how they felt. Maybe as a kid it's an athlete. Maybe it's an entertainer. Maybe it's somebody that has tremendous value to you that has spent time with you. Now, we're at that stage where there are people, many of you are coaches, speakers, trainers. Kevin, hey, there's my friend Kevin Daw, principal out there in Valdosta, Georgia. You have kids and teachers that do that for you, that they see the principle, and it's an opportunity for them to hear you, hear something that you say. And they may not remember what you say, but they'll remember what you did, and they're going to remember those moments of how you felt, how they felt. Are you maximizing those moments? Because you never know when something you say, John said this, you never know when something you say sticks. Like John said to me this past week, that'll stick forever. There's many things that he has said that have stuck, but this one will always stuck because it was personal to me. So for you this week, as you move forward this week, each person you meet is a divine appointment. Each person that you're around is an opportunity to encourage. It's an opportunity to give them that moment. You don't know what they're going through, you don't know what they've been through, and you don't know what they are about to go through. But something that you say, time spent with them, could be just what they need to get through what they're going through. It might be something that they may come back years later, like I did with John. And Diane, to your point, he remembered. But every time I saw him at that event, I reminded him of who I was and how we met. And I did that for 7 years. Why? Because I didn't want to forget that moment, but I also wanted to create opportunities later. Now I'm a part of his team, like many of you are. And he remembers me. And we all want to be remembered, right? We all want to be remembered. We all want to be valued. And in this case with John, he didn't remember me at first. But he does now. He does now. He knows my name. That's important to me. And what's even more important is that his DNA, those of you that are there each year, twice a year at IMC, or go see him at other events, you read his books, and his DNA is within you. And that's an important DNA value of us. It's called adding value. Adding value, valuing people, adding value to people. John lives this out every day, and every time I've met him personally, he's lived it out, and we see it week in and we see it all week when we're there. And so it's natural for us being around him. The influence he's had on my life and in yours, it's something we are to give away. So this week, your challenge this week, hey Mariana, your challenge this week is adding value to people by creating a moment for them where they remember what you did and making them feel valued. If you don't value people, then you can't accomplish this. If you don't care about people, if you don't value people, you cannot accomplish this action step. It's impossible. In order to add value to people, you have to value people. Makes sense, right? It's bottom line up front. If you don't value people, you're not going to add value to them. So, first step is, if you don't value people, you got to start valuing people. Change your mindset. Number 2, If you do value people, create a moment for people this week. And remember, it's not always what you say. People aren't going to remember about 7% of what you say. You're only going to remember 7% of what I said. If you watch this over again, you'll probably pick up a few more things. But the point is, create a memory, create a moment where people know that they're valued, they feel valued, because they'll always come back to that moment. What you said, what you did, how they felt, they'll come back to it time and time again. Here it is. It's 2019, almost 2020. This happened in 2006, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. And if we were in the building where it happened, I can tell you right now where I was standing. I can tell you where I was sitting. I could walk you back to the room where he was when I spoke to him. This conference hasn't met in that building in, years. I think it only met there 3 times before it actually moved somewhere else. So there were only 200 people in the room. There's literally over 2,000 that show up at this conference every year now. And you know what? He remembers my name now when I go to that conference. So I don't share that to boast. I share that to say he's just made a difference in my life. He's touched my heart. And the words he said to me this past week, I'll never forget as long as I live, because of how encouraging they were, how heartfelt they were given, and they went to my soul. Who's that person who can say that about you, and who's that person that you can say that about? If you can't answer that, then go this week and start creating those type of memories. And that, my friends, is the hashtag steeltoesrequired quote of the week. John Maxwell, people will not always remember what you said, but they will remember what you did and how you made them feel. That's John Maxwell, my mentor, and the book's behind me. I hope you enjoyed that, because remember, one moment can change a life. One moment, one word can change somebody's life. May you be that person this week in somebody's life, and may that person come into your life this week. And I pray that things like this, like Steel Toes, is one of those mechanisms that touches your life in that way, because my heart, when I do this, is exactly this quote. This quote, although I don't get to see all of you on here, and I saw many of you this week that are popping up, my heart is that you know that you're valued, that you're important, and that the words that I say are to touch your heart, to add value to you, to speak life into you, to be an encouragement, and to see you grow and go where you're supposed to go. And with that, my friends, let's close it, wrap it up with the blessing. I pray the blessing of bread that you know no hunger. I pray the blessing of salt, that your life would add flavor to others, and that your life would be flavorful, filled with lots of flavor. And I pray the blessing of wine, that joy and prosperity would be yours, and that the love of God would be your portion this day and forevermore. My friends, have a great Labor Day. For you in Odessa, we're praying for you. And for those of you in Florida, those of you in the Bahamas, those of you in the path of Dorian, praying for you. We're praying for your safety. We're praying that this hurricane would either dissipate and go away, or make a nice, sharp left or right out of harm's way. We just pray blessings for you. All right, friends, we'll see you during the week. LaRue on the Street. We'll see you next Sunday for episode 99 of the hashtag steeltoesrequired quote of the week. And folks, if there's anything you need a wingman, you need an encouraging word, reach out to me. You know what to do. Send me a private message. Blessings to you. Take care. This is Dennis LaRue with your hashtag steeltoesrequired quote of the week. And this has been episode number 98. Take care, friends. Bye for now.